Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating it's Thursday, May 7th, 2020. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many search for truth rules, already given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us. There's somebody saying, please look up. Nobody's looking up. And that's true. That's been our assessment also.
Yeah, that's right.
And there are many people who want to think that they are looking up while doing almost nothing to make that happen. And it takes an inordinate amount of effort to make it happen. This was not always the case. In the days of upward rising earth energy, it happened effortlessly. As soon as we stopped grasping and clutching, then our channels would kind of waft up just with the upward flow, and those were the good old days.
That's true.
For him is the message. And why do you ask? We love filming days because the morning before the filming window of time comes up, before the scheduled filming time, it's this process of attempting to discern why we are supposed to be filming on that particular day at
That's
that particular time. And so we watch for clues, and the clues can come in the dreaming of the previous overnight, or they could come in the messages of the morning.
That's right.
But the clues come, and it's fun. It's a fun game, and it's sad to whoever's speaking. There's a soul here who himself or herself loves the game of figuring out the messages, just loves it because it's so fun, and is just baffled at why humanity doesn't seem to enjoy this game, because
That's right.
it is endlessly fascinating. But the soul who's speaking is acknowledging that they don't have to like that humanity doesn't like the game of figuring out the messages. The truth is humanity doesn't like it, and all we have to do is look at outcomes. And here, even in this COVID shutdown era, there's plenty of time for people to be trying to figure out what the messages are, and instead they're watching porn.
That's right.
For whom is the message? Why do you ask? Some of them are playing video games.
I hear you.
All right. We think the point is that people aren't changing.
That's right.
And now somebody else is circling around to the morning where we had this wonderful message about how the core of the problem is still there. If we don't want to work with internal combustion engines, it doesn't really matter all that much whether we're talking about a generator or a lawnmower.
That's right.
If they're gas powered, the same issue still applies. And the housing is like a life that one would put on or take off, like a dress or shoes that one would put on or take off.
That's
because
right.
the crux of the issue is that we don't like working with internal combustion engines, possibly because of their symbolism of the destruction of all life on Earth. Very possibly.
That's opening up a big hole in the sky.
And so after we got that message, we were attempting to figure out, because we could feel that, that gives us the clue into the filming inquiry, and we're attempting to figure out, okay, this is an interesting clue, the crux of the issue, the core of the message, that core issue. We have to put a bet on the table of what the core issue is here, in Ground Zero Planet Earth at least. We think the core issue is that there's the lack of an effective training program, and this circles around to the spirit world having been invited in by the nature realms, because the nature realms was unable to budge the lying and cheating and stealing and bullying and corruption that's everywhere. And in our experimentation that we are assigned to do, that message is pretty solid.
That's right.
Corruption is everywhere. The point is that the ambient message remains of corruption being unbudged.
That's right.
And that corruption predated the spirit world's arrival at planet Earth. And all we have to do to prove that to ourselves is watch the butterflies attacking each other and the chickens jockeying, stealing things from each other.
That's right.
It's all still there. Or all there already.
Thank you.
And what the spirit world was supposed to provide was an effective training program. That's what's missing. For whom is the message? Why do you ask? That is our best guess. And somebody's saying, what do you mean by that? And somebody else says, the devil is in the details, which is probably true.
I can hear that.
Whew. What do you mean by that? They're pointing to this, we call it the world turning upside down feeling.
Yeah.
That began maybe an hour and a half ago.
I think that's true.
In both of these host lives. And commonly that's how psychic people feel when dimensional collapse is occurring.
That's true.
Other dimensions are collapsing either above or below us, and or on either side.
Good point.
Somewhere a nearby dimension collapsing, or multiple nearby dimensions, like an avalanche of dimensions, can create this world turning upside down feeling, and psychic people all around the world feel it, and they don't use that same label necessarily, but
That's
they
true.
email us asking for help with it.
That's true.
And it's the world turning upside down feeling. That's what we call it.
That's right.
So we know that that's going on, and we also know that we were asked to verify dates of known interdimensional interventions, known spirit world training efforts.
That's what they're talking about.
Because there have been signals of divine intervention, divine training program actions being taken. And we also know, obviously, in 1212 AD, the Children's Crusade, the Mediterranean Sea did not part. That was when there was a really clear signal that, the training program has broken down.
That's
It's not
right.
effective. So we know that it wasn't working in 1212 AD. And we know that in 1313 BCE, the Red Sea did part for Moses, and so that's an example of a reward, a
That's the
known divine reward, a training program given. This was during the Exodus, and God, divinity, rewarded the Israelites who were running away from Egypt.
That's right. That's what they're talking about.
And if we go even farther back to 3123 BCE, June 29th, 3123, an asteroid struck, and that appears to have been what took out the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's right.
And it was an asteroid strike, and that's definitely a known smiting.
That's right.
And we have this situation here on planet Earth right now where we need some smiting of the worst of the worst. We need some way of guiding the masses. And so it's been a long time since a known smiting. I guess that's the point. Like, we're coming up on 5,000 years.
That's what they're talking about.
Since there's a known large-scale smiting, but somebody else is talking about smaller-scale smitings.
I hear
that,
you.
The slaps on the wrist.
That's right.
The slaps on the wrist happen all the time. And there's that intermediate smiting, somebody says, where they just like push a bad guy off a cliff, so to speak. And again, it has to be not one human being pushing another human being.
Exactly.
That's just people being revolting to each other. That is not a smiting.
That's right.
A smiting is a clear act of God. For him is the message. Why do you ask? And then somebody else is talking about Saul's idea, what they're calling Saul's idea of providing instant karma to the worst of the worst 1%, those who are pulling humanity hardest into the paths of destruction, and that all the unused guardian angelhood can converge on the bad tail of the bell curve of karma and just pound them with smiting. And it would be small scale smiting because it's individual,
Yes, that's right.
and they can all converge and provide a bunch of small scale smiting, and it can be death by 1,000 cuts, right? Until the person just blows their own brains out, maybe. I don't know.
We're not saying.
That's not what we're saying.
Exactly.
But the point is to have it be an act of God, a clear act of God, so that observers say, oh my gosh, maybe God is real. Because we watch these people, now this is a different speaker, the leaning back, he said, we watch these people pontificating about God,
That's true.
but not acting as though they really think that God is actually real.
That's true.
Many of these people are very hypocritical. That's what this person
That's what he's
says. And
saying.
sitting back with his hands like this, legs crossed. Many of these people are very hypocritical. So you have to base it on actions. Actions speak louder than words, and to watch what people actually think. And they're pointing to how when this life was growing up, sitting in the Methodist church and listening to the words that were being spoken and observing what somebody's calling the audience,
That's what they're saying.
and how the audience was reacting to the speaker. And it was really obvious that the audience didn't believe what the speaker was saying.
That's true.
And then we would observe the speaker and realize, oh, he doesn't mean it either. Nobody in here actually believes this. And all you have to do to test that is watch what happens when people have fatal illnesses, when they're terminally ill, and how they freak out and extend life by all means possible, which is definitely not, oh, let's go see Jesus, right?
Right.
And how they act when money is involved.
That's what they're talking about.
And obviously, once more, they don't act like they think that God is real or watching them. Because if he ascendeth into heaven and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty, from whence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead, right?
Right.
Then shouldn't they give everything they have in this effort to at least stop the suffering of humans in the poor countries? Like all these doctors parading around, shouldn't they actually just join Doctors Without Borders and go start doing vasectomies in Indonesia? Or something like that. We're not saying only vasectomies in Indonesia, but meaning that overpopulation is an enormous problem, and those people don't have access to contraception. They're in poor countries. Over 2 billion people don't have access to a toilet, much less contraception. And we who have so much should share it with them. And if we live in the, quote, richest country on earth, don't you think it's our job? And that doesn't let the other wealthy countries off the hook.
No, that's right.
There's lots and lots of wealth on earth. The wealth is centralized, not fairly distributed, and that's wrong. For whom is the message? Why do you ask? And back we come to these people who don't look like they think God is real.
That's right.
Because they're parading around with their white coats on, acting like they're saints or something, when they're just sitting around in the wealthy countries. Like, get thee to a poor place, friend, and start helping in a really real way. So again, the pencil point is circling around to the need for an effective training program from the divine, and we really feel like this old idea of providing instant karma for the worst of the worst is helpful. While somebody says, well, you guys are hemming and hawing about the asteroid strike.
Exactly, that's what he said.
Yeah, while you guys are hemming and hawing about the asteroid strike, let's get some instant karma going for the bad tail of the bell curve of karma. And if there's an asteroid strike, you're going to have to really aim it, because look, all this discussion about Sodom and Gomorrah, it's been 5,000 years almost, right?
That's true.
So you really have to take good aim. Like, you have to hit Washington, D.C., don't you? Maybe New York City. Maybe Hollywood. Interesting. Maybe Hollywood.
Now it's really quiet.
In one level, it's really quiet, and in another level, everybody's just shouting out cities that they don't like.
I can hear that.
Yeah.
That is real.
Wow. This is an interesting point that they're making. They're talking about how if you hit a city with an asteroid,
That's right.
there are a lot of stories that could be made up about who God was aiming at.
That's right.
Whereas if you go for individuals, it's a little bit easier to try and figure out the pattern of who God is aiming at. If, for example, God found a way to wipe out all the fossil fuel execs,
That's right.
that would be, we think, a message that might be recognized. And the poison company executives really take out the corporate level of destruction. Then there might be a shift, possibly, in public thinking. Possibly. For whom is the message? Why do you ask? What now to stop the destruction in a fair and just way? We think that this little tree is a message about the need to focus on the worst of the worst, the bad tail of the bell curve of karma, because this is a troubled area. The water table rose and then fell again, and it killed a bunch of trees. There are maybe 50 dead trees, 60, I think we did an estimate, 60 dead trees right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is kind of sad. And especially in an era where we need more trees.
Exactly.
We need to be planting trees like our hair's on fire, because you know what's on fire? Our planet.
That's right.
The lungs of the planet, the Amazon, the lungs of the planet are being destroyed. And it's not just the Amazon. Like, drive around, right? And looking around where you live and notice how many trees are being destroyed. It's like humanity's next best hobby.
That's right.
Pornography, destroying trees. Somebody's going on and on about pornography. It might be Mother Mary.
That's my best
Yeah, she
guess.
doesn't like that kind of stuff. She thinks that people who watch porn need to grow up, unless they're actually 14, in which case, okay, whatever. You do you, right? Oh, you do you. That's real.
Oh, that's really funny.
We think the point they're trying to make is to start with the most clear cases of karmic necessity, karmic applicability. Just start with the worst of the worst and see if maybe other people will change their destructive ways.